Hello, my friends. I am B, and this is B's Intuition. Today we're going to do a reading, and it's a subscriber special. And it's going to be about what is your influence, the Hive Collective. What is the Hive Collective's influence on others? How are you influencing others? I don't know. I felt like it was kind of interesting as a topic idea. Let's just dive right into it, shall we? Please and thank you, Spirit. How does the Hive Collective specifically, how does the Hive Collective influence others? Please and thank you, Spirit. How does the Hive Collective influence others? Jeez Louise, they're falling on the floor. That might be significant, though. I have heard other tarot readers say that is important. So maybe your influence is very significant. Yeah, very significant. So the first card that came out, we have the Wheel of Fortune. And then we have the Four of Cups. Page of Pentacles. And then bottom of the deck, we have the Justice card. I think that's a lovely energy. Okay. I don't want to make any assumptions yet. Let's clarify first. Let's start with that Wheel of Fortune card. Please and thank you, Spirit. Can you clarify that Wheel of Fortune? How does the collective, the Hive Collective, how does the Hive Collective influence others? How do they influence others? Please and thank you, Spirit. Not too many, please and thank you, Spirit. I don't want it to be too overwhelming. That wouldn't be very good, would it? That wouldn't be very helpful at all. Yeah, okay. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so the first card to clarify that Wheel of Fortune, we have the Ace of Pentacles, the Two of Swords. I got to remember that sometimes it is too reflective, so I got to tilt it down a little bit so that y'all can see. The Seven of Cups right there. The Page of Swords. The Queen of Swords. Nine of Cups. And then bottom of the deck is the Nine of Swords. This is such an interesting energy. So the Wheel of Fortune almost feels like you influence others to believe that there is something outside of us, outside of the 3D, something more, that there's other energies at play, that life isn't as black and white as we may think it is, that something exists beyond what we can see and feel. And there's like powers of the universe that you can tap into to pretty much make your circumstances better. I feel like that is very eye-opening for a lot of people because, especially in this day and age where everything's so logical, and 3D, sometimes we can find ourselves stuck in the 3D and forget or not really realize that there's something more. The Ace of Pentacles clarifying that Wheel of Fortune. This, to me, it feels like it's part of your story. And maybe this is kind of how you influence other people, is by telling your story. The Ace of Pentacles almost feels like an idea that you're bringing into reality, starting off with just what you have, not a whole lot, just what you have, and that's enough. People may think, and maybe that's maybe a part of why people have a hard time believing in something outside of themselves, is maybe they think that you need certain things in order to tap into that energy, or you need to be a certain way, or you need to yeah, pretty much like there's limitations. But you show people that you can start with just a small thing. You can start out with what you have and build it into something. So it's also like you influence other people to be very, what's that word? I can't think of the word. Pretty much resourceful. Yes, that's it. Somebody that can kind of take what they have and use it as an investment into their betterment or manifestation journey. And then we have the Two of Swords. It feels like through your journey, you've learned how to listen to your intuition and not your fear, or your fear of the unknown. You could influence people to trust their intuition, especially in times where things are confusing. It's almost like you try to bring out other people's power so that they maybe first and foremost kind of recognize that they have this power within them, and you help them to kind of bring that out in themselves. Because everybody has an intuition. It's just a matter of who listens to it, lives in accordance to what their intuition tells them, and those who may try to ignore it. And it may even be part of your process here, like your intuition has brought you down this path. It almost feels like the reason why you're so influential when it comes to others is like you speak from experience. And I feel like the things that you struggled with on your journey is something that other people resonate with and can relate to. So the way you talk about your own journey, I feel like it gives people hope, and yeah, it changes their perspective of things. Especially if you started with very humble beginnings, which is what it feels like. People resonate with that message that even if things look impossible, you can still make things happen in your favor. Like that's a possibility. There's something about you being the evidence for these people that may be a little bit more uh, critical, less open minded, maybe stuck in their own ways to a degree. And then we have the Seven of Cups. To me, that almost hits me as like maybe when you're first getting started on your journey of trying to manifest, trying to become one with the universe and tap into these universal energies that are at play. It may be very overwhelming for a lot of people, especially because people are coming into this process, maybe with a lot of ideas of what spirituality is, what the energies or maybe even misconceptions of like how to create their own magic, how that works. There's like doubt, confusion, maybe even like terminology could be kind of difficult for people to wrap their mind around when they're first getting started on their journey. But I feel like you have also been there. And so you, again, kind of relate to people. It's like, yeah, it may seem a little bit daunting at first, but it's totally worth diving into. And there's something here too with that Seven of Cups about opportunities opening up for you. And you to kind of show other people that, yeah, especially people that sort of constrain themselves or they limit themselves. They may think, okay, there's only two paths in life, maybe winning and failing, just for a general example. But you show people that there's endless pathways to take in life. And that, I feel like, restructures people's mindsets and perspectives of the world. Because I feel like a lot of people are typically like, these ideas are instilled in them from a very young age that you have to have a career that makes sense, that you have to pursue things that are logical based in the 3D. And if you're not doing that and you're not living for maybe other people's validation, then you're doing something wrong or you're failing. But it's like you give this sense of like, if I choose to tap into these universal energies at play and kind of manipulate the energies in order for that to serve me in my journey, the whole world can open up for me. Endless possibilities and potentials become real. That could be very overwhelming, but also very exciting at the same time. I feel like a lot of people feel very inspired by your story. There's also a lot of like, you have like this very deep understanding of things. And maybe it's through your experience or experiences. There's a certain depth to you though. And I feel like you're with that depth, you can also understand many other people's perspectives of these types of things. So you kind of understand where they're coming from if they're doubting or doubtful. But then we have the Page of Swords. That time of year, dry throat. Then we have the Page of Swords. And so you spark. There's also something about the way you speak, I want to say, that may even like help shift people out of a state of apathy, numbness, that a lot of people almost need in order to get through their days most days. Even people that don't even realize that they've become apathetic and numb. You awaken something within them. That Page of Swords, I love the Page of Swords personally because it kind of talks to me about curiosity, exploring your curiosities, or even exploring anything, any sort of interest, anything that piques your interest. You show people that it's a good idea to explore those things, no matter what they are. And it may just bring about a lot of fulfillment to these people. I feel like the way you talk about things, the way you have a very special sort of perspective of things, it gets people curious, it gets people interested. I feel like they, in a lot of ways, want to learn to be like you. Yeah, it's like you are, either you are or you're becoming a very good example for how you can make energies work in your favor, even if it may seem impossible. Because after that Page of Swords, we have the Queen of Swords. And so it's almost like they're starting out as a page, but they want to become the Queen of Swords like you are. I feel like that's definitely an energy that you embody, which is, you can see it as more of like a developed Page of Swords, a Page of Swords that has had plenty of experience and has leveled up in their journey. But also there's a lot of strength and beauty to your mind in the way that your mind works. I feel like through this journey of your own, you actually have shifted perspectives quite significantly. Again, it's like you're a good example of how these things do exist. And you can manifest things. You can change, you can grow, and you can become attuned to the universe, tapping into that energy and using it in a way that benefits you in your own growth. It almost feels like with that Queen of Swords that you started off with an idea or concept, and you explored that, and that really served you and opened up a lot of doors for you, and you were able to learn a lot, develop a lot on that path to the point where you feel very empowered. There's also a part of the Queen of Swords that is kind of like, because she is so strong-minded, she kind of doesn't really care what anybody has to say about her, what she's doing, her journey, where she's headed. And maybe you kind of influence others to embody more of that sort of not really caring what others think sort of attitude. Yeah, I think you very much empower people. People that thought that they didn't have any internal power. People that felt very helpless and hopeless in life. You show people how to empower themselves, to find that strength and power within themselves and bring that out. And not just bring that out, but also kind of shape it and expand it to the point where you become skilled. And unafraid. And it's interesting how it goes from the Queen of Swords and then Nine of Cups, as if you're here to say you can achieve your dreams. You can bring your dreams into reality. You can manifest your dreams in the 3D. And yeah, you show people how to, yeah, it's like you are the blueprint in a lot of ways for like how to get to that point of manifesting happiness and wish fulfillment. This is so interesting. I kind of love the contrast between your energy and the people's energies that you affect. At the bottom of the deck is the Nine of Swords, which is interesting because we just saw the Nine of Cups. Very different energies. I feel like this Nine of Cups is more so your energy, whereas this Nine of Swords is more so other people's energy, or maybe people's energy before you come into their life, or as you're coming into their life, they may embody more so this Nine of Swords, which deals a lot with anxiety and stress, being really stuck in your head, sort of not being able to escape this endless nightmare. But also, and it's usually the Eight of Swords that's seen more so as like a jail or a prison, but the way that the swords look on this card, they're outside the window, and to me it almost looks like bars on the window, like inescapable, like a prison. And so, but the swords have to do with like the mental, such as mindsets, belief systems, intrusive thoughts, narratives, all of these things that are within that can keep us stuck, that can limit us, that can convince us that magic doesn't exist, that manifestation doesn't exist, that impossible things will always be impossible, which generally is just not true. I like to use the concept of airplanes. 200 years ago, people would have thought you're insane for suggesting that people could fly in the air, right? But what once was seen as impossible is now like, oh, obvious, Like, of course, everybody can ride on a plane. That's silly to think that you can't. But before it was like, it's silly if you believe that you can. But that's kind of what you show people, that things are not as clear cut as they may think. And I feel like these are a lot of people that limit themselves. A lot of these people that you influence, it's almost like you bring up this awareness of like, oh geez, maybe I am sort of sabotaging myself and my own growth here. Maybe I'm preventing myself from pursuing my dreams. Maybe I'm the one that's holding myself back. I feel like you bring up a lot of feelings in people, and you help them to become more self-aware, I would say, and self-contemplative, if that makes any sense. That's probably not proper phrasing, but kind of contemplating oneself and how we influence ourselves and how we hold ourselves back in life. Some people may not even consciously be aware of that blockage within themselves. But it's like you come in and you show people. It's almost interesting too with the Queen of Swords. I feel like you kind of show up in people's life and you're almost like the key to unlock this door to endless potential. Because you understand where these people are coming from, because you have been there. You've been in their shoes. You have once held yourself back. But you become a master over your own mind. And yeah, you show people that the key to this success, the key to manifestation, it really starts within. And it starts with changing those mindsets, those narratives that we develop through a lifetime. Because it feels like you have mastered your mind in a lot of ways. You've become very empowered when it comes to your mind. Like, you don't let yourself bully yourself. If those inner critics pop up, you probably can recognize, for one, that's not your voice. That's that self-criticism coming through, or that doubt, or that fear, or that anxiety. And you just like turn around, you're like, you need to shut up, to those intrusive thoughts, those thoughts that dictate our lives really, but like the narratives, the mindsets, all of those types of things that we develop and kind of hold on to without even realizing that we're holding on to them, right? Um, yeah, and it's again, you're like the key to opening a doorway that people didn't even realize was there. It's beautiful because it's like you really do expand people's minds. You definitely blow people's minds. Like, again, the way that you talk, I feel like is also very influential. The Queen of Swords would be an excellent communicator. And so there's something about the way you talk about these experiences, the way that you talk about how you have gone through this process yourself and become more empowered and strong by going down this path. You're very inspirational and motivating for people. I think you influence people in the way of inspiring them, motivating them, encouraging them, even. And these are people that may have not felt that for a really long time. These are people that may have been living very hopeless lives in which they felt very apathetic and numb. And you kind of come in and you're like a shot of espresso, espresso. Um, and people wake up, you know? You wake up people. You shake them out of that sense of apathy and numbness. And you help them to believe in themselves and believe in what is possible, which the universe is truly full of endless opportunities and endless possibilities. But a lot of people don't see the world like that. But you encourage people to shift into something like that. And you're a really good example of it. You may also, people may kind of pick up on this energy that the divine works in your favor. And so it's like, okay, if the Hive Collective can get the universe to work in their favor, maybe I can too. Especially when they know your backstory and that you started with not very much, but you made miracles happen. You made magic happen in your own life. Let's see what's underneath this Nine of Swords. Five of Pentacles, see? These people are in really crummy situations. They feel bad about themselves. They're not happy. They experience a lot of lack. They may even be very controlled by their 3D reality and sort of taking what they see and having that add to those already toxic mindsets and narratives about like, well, this is just how it's always going to be. Who am I to try and change this, you know? Who am I to believe that I can have a better life, you know? You come in such a strong sort of energy, and it may even show people like, wow, the narratives that I have in this moment may be way more toxic, way more limiting than I even realized. Like, again, you like wake people up to the truth. And sometimes that's an uncomfortable truth, but it ultimately helps people to self-reflect, to become better. And again, it's not like you're speaking down on these people. Like, how dare you feel sorry for yourself? How dare you feel like, or how dare you have a lack mindset? No, because you know what it's like. You know, you've started in a very similar place to these people. And so that makes a huge impact. And you speak with compassion, empathy, sympathy. It's like you get down on their level and you're able to do that. Because again, you know what it's like to be limited by your own brain, limited by oneself. to place limitations on yourself, maybe without you even being conscious of it. I want to see what's underneath that Five of Pentacles. The Chariot. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, you give people hope. The Chariot. You show people like, yes, you do struggle mentally. Your thoughts do matter. The beliefs that you hold on to about yourself and your life, they do matter. And they do keep you trapped. And yes, you do feel this lack mindset. And that's not really benefiting you. But at the same time, you show people that, yes, these things are true, but you can overcome them. There's like this empowering message that you give to people. And it's like they start to believe it, you know? They may even be surprised that they start to believe the words that you say. These may be very skeptical people, but it's like the way that you talk, the way that you share your own experiences, they start to believe in you. They start to believe in something else that maybe they haven't believed in a long time, or they never believed in before. And it's like you show people that they have the power to overcome these things on their own. Like the universe and spirit is with them, of course. But maybe you also kind of show them that only they can do that kind of work. You know, it's kind of like healing, you know. When we're unhealed, we may think that other people will help heal us. But then typically we get disappointed when they're not able to. And at the end of the day, only we can improve ourselves, heal ourselves. But it's like, it's not supposed to be a critical or criticizing message. It's supposed to be empowering. Like, it's not amazing that you have the key to unlock a new version of yourself. You have the key to overcome these obstacles that lay within you. You can free yourself of these things. You can overcome them. Even if it feels impossible. Even if they feel stuck, there is a way out. And you inspire people to do just that. Honestly, very beautiful energy. I like that a lot. Okay, let's go on to the Four of Cups now and clarify that. Please and thank you, Spirit. Can you clarify the Four of Cups as to how does the collective influence others? Please and thank you, Spirit. How does the collective influence others with that Four of Cups? Please and thank you, Spirit. Okay. Let's see now. What is this one? Oh, okay. Ooh. Okay. Very powerful cards here. So clarifying that Four of Cups. The Ten of Cups came out like that. Very beautiful. The Ten of Swords came out in the reverse. Another beautiful energy, really. Then we have the Seven of Swords. The Two of Wands. Sorry for the background noise. I can't control that, though. And it probably will go on for probably an hour. Two of Wands. The Magician. Ace of Swords. Judgment. Bottom of the deck. Oh my God, why do they have to blast it so loud? I really hope that y'all can't hear that. Five of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. That's not distracting at all. Yeah. In moments like this, we have to just take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out, and just simply move on with our lives, because some things are just out of our control and we have to accept that. Okay. So that Four of Cups, I feel like that is you inspiring other people to make good boundaries, healthy boundaries with other people. Also, you show people how to be selective, but you also show that doing all of that kind of work, boundary setting, establishing boundaries with others, not only does it benefit you, but it also, with that 10 of Cups coming out like that, you show people that that is the way to get to their happily ever after. Especially when it comes to love, because we live in a society that is very romantic based, and typically as a society, I would say that we kind of see the end goal being like finding our other half or our soulmate, whatever you want to call it. So I feel like that kind of encourages people. Like, okay, if I establish these boundaries and I don't just let just anyone into my life, I don't let people push me around or whatever, through holding on to those standards, I can attract somebody that actually will treat me well, someone that is in alignment with me. The 10 of Swords in the reverse, you show people, because you know what it's like to go through the 10 of Swords upright. Very hurtful energy, very painful, betrayal, pain, suffering, being backstabbed. There's a lot of like heavy energy with that. But you show people that it's possible to turn that around for ourselves. You show people that we can heal those wounds. We can escape from the patterns that lead us down a path to embodying the 10 of Swords upright. But you show that there is a key to releasing the pains of the past and doing our best to try and avoid creating more of those in the future, or getting ourselves into that situation again. Again, there's so much empowerment that comes from you. It's very beautiful. And then that 7 of Swords. You show people how to spot the red flags and how to not be taken advantage of, how to avoid those types of people that lie, cheat, and steal. I don't know why those came up, but yeah, could definitely be. Because you have experienced a lot of those types of people who put on a mask, who hide things, who do not have very good intentions. It's almost like you can spot those from a mile away, and you kind of show people how to spot those things before they sort of take root in one's life. And it also kind of goes back to what we're clarifying, that 4 of Cups, because it's like, with proper boundaries and boundary setting, if we're getting to know someone, but we tell them, hold up, I want to take my time here. And if they get triggered with that, okay, clearly they had a hidden agenda, right? But also through that process of taking things slowly, you start to truly understand the other person much deeper than if you just rushed into something based on feelings alone, perhaps. Then after that 7 of Swords, there is the 2 of Wands, which is like plan making. I feel like You inspire people to, and this is interesting because it almost in a way kind of conflicts with that message I was getting with the 10 of Cups, but it's almost like, well, it makes sense together though, because it's like you inspire people, I believe, to plan a future for just themselves, focus on their own self-healing, self goals, ambitions, our dreams. You influence people to make their own plans. And it almost gives this sense of like, if you build it, they will come, that saying or quote. There's something about how you encourage people to make plans for themselves, separate from any attachments, just solely focusing on oneself and our own goals. And yes, if you build it, they will come. It's almost like you show people that when you focus on yourself and you work through a lot of things within ourselves, within our lives, and we start to focus on our goals, put energy and effort into achieving our goals, that life that we create for ourselves, that future life, that lifestyle, when we're embodying that, that is when we attract someone that's in a similar frequency, who has also worked on their healing, who has also worked on going after their goals. And so, again, there's just so many empowering messages that you send to people about how these things do matter. These things do make a difference. And also with that Four of Cups, there is an amount of self-respect that comes with that as well. And so maybe you help to show people that they're worthy of self-respect. And self-respect may even be sort of a foundational block, like a foundational block when it comes to shifting, changing, manifesting. Yes, and maybe you also kind of share this idea of like, it's not selfish to focus on yourself. It's important. We deserve that. After that Two of Wands is the Magician. And I feel like, again, you're a very beautiful example for these people to follow. You have recognized your own power within, and you have magnified that. You have brought it out in yourself. You have intensified it over time. And so people can look at you and see that you're not full of BS. Also, the Magician gets to that point because the Magician has gone through many experiences. Usually, like, the image shows like swords, pentacles, cups, and wands. And it's sort of like the accumulation of all these lessons, all of these parts, putting them together to make something bigger than oneself. And so you just become such a powerful light, and people wish to follow that and learn how to embrace these things for themselves. And again, you kind of show people that this journey, even if it takes a long time, it's worth it. Going through all these experiences, no matter how crummy, they're worth it in the end, because they teach us things that we can use later on. And they only make us more powerful, more confident, more capable of overcoming things. Yeah, and it's like you are the clear example of like what it looks like when you do lean into these things. and you believe and trust in the process. The Ace of Swords follows the Magician. It's like you shed light on the truth, but this is the truth that people didn't realize, or didn't realize or recognize. They didn't realize it existed. They didn't recognize it before. You have the truth of these concepts that maybe are new to other people, but you're very familiar with them. You may, again, something about communication, I feel like you may explain things in a way that's very easy to digest. You may use words that people maybe resonate with, or words that people kind of understand more. You make things easily comprehensive. People are able to kind of understand where you're coming from, even if you're even talking about very esoteric ideas and concepts. There's a way that you put them into, maybe you even use like real world examples or analogies. There's just a way that you speak on this that people agree with, people kind of go along with, people believe in this. And then after that Ace of Swords is the Judgment card. And moving into the Judgment phase is like a big transition. Huge, really. There is a part of there is a part of transformation that comes along with that. Also, there is like very much the influence of the divine, universal power, spirit, if that's something that you believe in, or if you use those words for it, or something different. You may also kind of help people to tune into spirit or these otherworldly powers, energies. And then with like the horn that the angel is holding and blowing into, it's like, again, there's something about how you talk, how you express yourself, how you get people's attention. They naturally sort of gravitate towards you. You may even have something like a nice voice to listen to, maybe calming, soothing, satisfying to kind of listen to. Maybe you do ASMR or something like that. Or you would be good at that. But there's just something about you, the way that you are, the way that you talk, the way that you live your life. There's just something about you that people want to listen to. People want to hear your story. People want to come towards you because they know that you have some sort of power, some sort of otherworldly knowledge, that you know something that they don't know, kind of thing, that you're incredibly wise. And again, you've gained all of this wisdom through your own experiences on your own journey. The Judgment card with that horn that they're blowing into, it's like you wake people up. Again, there's that message. You shake people out of their apathy, their unfulfilling lives. Because sometimes we can just be so stuck in patterns, routines. They start to kind of all mesh together, all blend together, and we can tend to think like this is all life is, or this is all life will ever be for me, you know? And so people that have been asleep for maybe a long time, you come in and you wake them up to something more. And this is something that I feel like the world desperately needs. There is a purpose to this. You empower people. You inspire them to take power into their own hands, take situations, circumstances into their own hands. You awaken them to something more in life. And you just show people that there's another way to live. Life does not have to be miserable. We can strive towards more. We can create our own happiness. And the Ace of Swords kind of gives me that feeling of like awareness. You kind of bring these things to people's awareness. Yeah, there's just a very significant way in which you influence other people to think about these things in a way that maybe they've never thought of before. Or maybe not with that perspective or that twist or that empowerment part. Yeah. And then at the bottom of the deck is the Five of Pentacles. Like there's something about how you come into people's lives, maybe when they're at their lowest, but it almost feels like, again, there's like this numbness where it's almost like people that are in this very like low point in their life, they almost don't even realize that they're in it. Some of them at least, right? Because they've become so accustomed to misery. Maybe that's kind of their default setting, so to speak. Or it's like the energy they're used to being around, being in. And so you bring this to the forefront of their mind. It's like these things are brought to the surface so they can acknowledge them and work through them. Because that's a whole nother thing too. It's like, how are we supposed to work on ourselves and our mindsets, our narratives that we build, lack mindsets? How are we supposed to work on any of those if we don't even realize they're there in the first place? And the part that they're playing in our own sabotaging, our own sabotage, our own limitations to ourselves. Let's see what's underneath that Five of Pentacles. Nine of Swords. Yeah. You also come into people's lives when they're very unhappy and overwhelmed. I want to see what's underneath that. Three of Wands. Okay. You know, this is actually really beautiful because to me, that Three of Wands, especially after the Nine of Swords, it's like some people are so stuck in this Nine of Swords thinking that their life is just going to be full of misery. They're always going to live this way. Life is always going to be difficult. They can't escape this. But then the Three of Wands, there's like this optimistic looking into the future energy. And so it's like you shift people out of this cycle of thinking very negatively, thinking very pessimistically about things, being trapped in those lower vibrational mindsets and narratives. And you give them a sense of hope about the future. You inspire them and motivate them to look at the future with hope and possibility, opportunity. Like these are a lot of people that may have spent their whole life living in the Nine of Swords energy and the Five of Pentacles energy. And because of that, they may not even realize that it's holding them back, or that it's a bad thing even. You know, if somebody is born and raised in this sort of environment, or an environment that is conducive to building up this sort of mental space, yeah, how is somebody that was born and raised in that situation, how are they supposed to realize that that's not how one should live? That we deserve more from life than just living in misery and suffering and pain and feeling trapped and stuck, doubting ourselves constantly. You show up and you're like, you're giving these people hope for the future, and this could be for like the first time in their life that they finally have hope for the future, that they're starting to look optimistically into the future, and they can expand their minds to, like, you know, there's this feeling of like, there's, you know, anything can happen. But the thing about saying that sentence is sometimes that can be filled with fear, that statement. Like, oh, anything could happen. I don't have any control. Like, that's scary, right? But then there's also the more positive, optimistic lens where it's like, anything can happen. Isn't that amazing? You know, we can make the impossible possible. We can shift things so dramatically that it's practically inconceivable. Like, that's amazing. Anything can happen, truly. No matter who you are, where you are, like, that's exciting. And there's something about you, there's something about the way you show up that really influences people to look at their future more optimistically, in a brighter sort of lens. Even if it's just like the smallest little sliver of hope, or the smallest little change in their mindsets, or hell, even just the awareness that these things are going on internally. They make a big change, they make a big influence on others, and help to improve their lives, even if they don't even realize that's taking place. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the Page of Pentacles now. Please and thank you, Spirit. Can you clarify this Page of Pentacles? How does the collective influence others? Please and thank you, Spirit. Page of Pentacles, clarification for that Page of Pentacles. Please and thank you, Spirit. For the collective. Okay. Oh, Hive Collective. I keep forgetting to say Hive Collective, but that's my intention in this reading. Spirit knows who I'm talking about. Spirit knows who I'm talking about. Yeah. We're talking about the Hive Collective up in here. Okay. Let's see. Interesting energies. Okay. So the first one to come out for that Page of Pentacles is the Queen of Cups. Beautiful. And then we have the Ace of Cups, the Empress, and Eight of Swords. And then bottom of the deck is the Nine of Swords again. So that Page of Pentacles feels like a baby energy. But I mean that almost in the way of like a baby in terms of inexperience. And it almost feels like the place that you started on your journey. You started from this place of inexperience, of maybe general curiosity, of desire to improve your life. You know, it started with a spark of hope, a spark of a vision that you wanted to bring into reality. And you've developed into this very mature and experienced and powerful, empowered energy and presence. I feel like, and maybe this is just a side message for whoever's watching this, but you should be very proud of how far you've come on your journey. If you compare yourself now to where you started, I think you're going to be very impressed and proud of yourself, because we all know it's not easy. It doesn't just happen overnight. You've really like brought out your best characteristics too, like your best qualities. You've embraced them and brought them to the surface for everyone to see and admire. That Queen of Cups is really giving me that energy. You just have such a beautiful, pure heart. And you show up in this way that is just radiating love to yourself, to the people around you, to everything. It feels like it's just like you're this warm light now. There's also like, if you look at the Queen of Cups here, like she looks very confident. She looks very self-assured. So it's like you're not that baby anymore, like you've developed into someone that knows who they are, knows their good qualities, knows what they have and the value that those things possess, right? You understand your own value, you understand your strengths. You understand that the things that make you unique and individual are beautiful, and those are the things that people appreciate the most in you. The things that make you different, the quirks that you have, the way you see the world and interact with it. It really helps other people to maybe notice their own strengths, to help pull out their best characteristics, their best qualities, and expand them, make them more powerful, embrace them. I think that you've also gained a lot of self-love on this journey, and it's probably through all of these experiences that you've gone through, is like you've seen what you're capable of. And I feel like that helps you to gain that sense of confidence and self-assuredness that no matter what life brings your way, throws at you, you know you can handle them. These obstacles, these interferences or roadblocks, obstacles, yeah. The Ace of Cups after the Queen of Cups, I feel like you encourage people to embrace love. Especially because like we live in a world where we see sensitivity, emotions that are gentle and sweet. We typically see those as weaknesses, or we see those as hindrances, or it's like that feeling of like, why am I so sensitive when the world is so cruel? What could that possibly be good for, useful? But you show people that it is worth embracing one's beautiful heart and the love that it has. Also filling ourselves up with love. You show people that that's not selfish, that's necessary. And also, like when we fill ourselves with love, we start to, it's like we're watering a garden, and then that garden just takes off, and there's just so many beautiful flowers that pop and all out of you. I'm just like getting this image in my mind of like somebody pouring, like a watering can onto their heart, and then all of a sudden all different types of flowers are popping out of them, and they're just like turning into such a beautiful garden. You show people how it's possible to feed yourself and notice the transformation that takes place with that, how that transforms, how that shapes us into someone that we love to embody, that we're proud to embody. And then after that is the Empress. And I feel like this is definitely how people perceive you. You are a master at this, navigating through these types of journeys, the experiences that you've gone through. The stability that you've created within yourself. You're very impressive. You do stand out in a way that is very powerful, empowered, confident, abundant. And it's almost like you are divinely led. You're spiritually tapped in. After that Empress card is the Eight of Swords. And although I do think that you probably had many Eight of Swords moments where you felt like stuck in your head, trapped in your mind, but you freed yourself from these things that were keeping you stuck within. And I also feel like this is probably where people are when you come into their life. When you show up in these people's lives, they're typically in that Eight of Swords energy. Maybe keeping themselves stuck, allowing experiences, others to dictate their own narratives about themselves. And I actually really love this image because she's stepping out from all of these swords, as if she's finally realizing, oh, wait, I do have the power to move out of this energy. I can escape this. It's almost like because you have transformed so much, you've gained so much wisdom, you live this experience. It's like people feel so encouraged by that. They see what is possible if they leave that prison within them, if they dare to break free, how the world will open up to them. Also interesting that it's the Eight of Swords, and then at the bottom of the deck is the Nine of Swords. I also feel like you kind of show people that, like, there's like this energy of like showing people that if they maybe don't work on these things, or they try to ignore these things that are taking place within them that are holding them back, that they may be able to sort of fester or survive and multiply like a bacteria. It's almost like you show people that these things are important to like catch as early as possible so that they don't become something more serious and long lasting and harder to break free from. Yeah. You definitely influence other people to feel empowered. I want to see what's underneath that Nine of Swords. Five of Pentacles. Yeah, it's been pretty consistent throughout this whole reading. I'm going to see what's underneath that Five of Pentacles. The Chariot. Very beautiful. So again, you're encouraging people. So it's like you're bringing to their awareness that these things exist, but then you're also encouraging them to overcome these challenges, to defeat these inner demons. And you're showing them that it's possible and that you believe in them. Maybe that's a whole nother way of influencing others, is like you believe in others so that they also believe in themselves, if that makes any sense. It's like, yeah, maybe nobody believed in these people, of their potential throughout their whole lifetime, and they internalize that. But here you come and you're like, do you know how powerful you are? Do you know how you can, change your life forever? Improve things for the better? Manifest? Create a beautiful future? Yeah. I want to see what's underneath that chariot. The Hanged Man. Interesting. I do think that you get people to become more contemplative, to really reflect on the things that you say, the things that you do. Also, there's a part of the Hanged Man where it's like, if you stay in that spot long enough, you start to see the bigger picture. You start to see things from a completely different perspective. You change people's perspectives of themselves and of the world. And that's not a small thing to do. That's pretty big and significant. It was very beautiful. I like it. And then Justice at the bottom of the deck. I feel like you probably influence people to do their best to maybe find balance within themselves in their life. But I also feel like there's something about, like, I don't know, maybe you encourage people to do the right thing or do their best to do the right thing. And maybe there's like a karma component to that. Like, what you put out into the world, the kindness that you show up with, it does matter and it does make a difference and it will come back to you. There's something about that I feel like encourages people to do better and inspires them to do better and sees like a purpose behind it and that it's not just pointless, I guess. Let's see what's underneath that Justice card. Two of Swords. We saw the Two of Swords earlier. You help people, again, to trust their intuition, but also to move outside of their comfort zone, to free themselves, to empower them to free themselves, especially in those times of uncertainty. There's something very sturdy about you that I feel like gives people reassurance as well. Like when in times of confusion, people may look to you as a source of stability or balance, or, something about you just makes sense in this nonsensical world that we live in. And that helps people somehow. It's like you're the truth, which is a big part of justice as well. You speak the truth. You are the truth. That is so rare to find. Yeah. Let's see what's underneath that Two of Swords out of curiosity. The Hanged Man. So we saw that at the bottom of the other deck too. So yeah, you bring about this contemplative energy in others. And these are people that maybe have never really reflected like that on maybe themselves, their actions, the things they do and why they do them. You really help people to dig deep and to think deeply. And that makes a big difference. Simply observing ourselves and noticing certain behaviors within ourselves, noticing mindsets and other beliefs that hold us back, like just the acknowledgement and awareness is enough to change people's lives. And it's really the key to unlock that door to endless possibilities. Because like I said earlier, like, how are you supposed to work on these things if you don't even know they exist in the first place? Yeah. Okay, let's break out the Oracle and see if there's any additional messages. Please and thank you, Spirit. Any additional messages for the Hive Collective, either related to this message or this topic, or not. It might just want to compliment you. Bring out some good qualities that you have. Please and thank you, Spirit. Any additional messages with the Oracle? Please and thank you, Spirit. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Thank you very much. Very much though. Ooh, beautiful. Very beautiful energy. Ooh. Okay. So the first card we have is Basil. This represents prosperity, luck, and love. Beautiful. See, prosperity, luck, and love. That feels magical, right? Those feel like magical ideas, concepts. You help people to believe in that. Find it realistic to believe in these things. And then we have Summer. This represents expansion and growth. I think that goes without saying that you help to expand people's minds and you help them to grow. You're so necessary in this world. And then we have Autumn. This represents bounty and balance. Like, these are such beautiful freaking cards, and they go in perfect alignment with the messages we were getting through this whole reading. Gorgeous energy. Bounty and balance. So it's like you show people how to create their own bounty. Bountiful, isn't that a word? You may show them how to live a bountiful life. Also, balance. I think I was mentioning balance with the Justice card. Yeah. You may like emphasize maybe how important it is to find balance in ourselves and our lives. And then we have the sickle. This represents focus, regrowth, and letting go. You're incredibly focused, so that's no surprise to me. Regrowth, I feel like that's kind of that transformative energy that you inspire people to navigate through or to go down that path towards transformation. Letting go. Maybe you're really good at kind of letting things go for the most part, and you could be a good example for others. And it's almost like you kind of show how letting go of things is like such a integral part of life. Because, you know, if you think about it, like a sickle with harvesting, you know, we have to let go of the crops. You have to cut them down and remove them from that space in order to make space for the new crops, right? And so it's like such a necessary part of the process. And it's such a necessary part of life in general. And maybe not everybody sees that, but you help people to see this in a very logical and rational and reasonable way. And then we have mushroom. A lot of cards came. This is the last one though. Well, before the bottom of the deck. But anyways, mushroom. This represents recycling and breaking down problems. See, there's something about the way you speak, the way you explain things that is in a logical and accessible sort of way. Like, people can understand what you're saying. You're not just speaking a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, or, you know, words that people are just like what are you saying? Like, people don't get lost when they're, well, they may get lost in the way of like their mind expands and they may dream through the words that you say, but they don't get lost in the meaning and pretty much you word things in a way that's understandable for a lot of people. But the breaking down problems part, I feel like you definitely help people to, help people to see that you don't have to face everything all at once. You can break things down into smaller bits, more digestive, little tiny baby steps. You don't have to like strive to do everything overnight and be transformed by the morning. Like, you show people that it's a process and that process is also beautiful and necessary. And then bottom of the deck, we have fruit. This is achievement and success. which is like, I think that either you are coming into success or you're already successful, and it's like beautiful energy. So it's like people clearly can see that in you, that you have been successful in all of this. You've achieved so much, you've gained so much success. There's something about the heart with that strawberry. It's like once you recognize your own sense of self-worth and that you have success within you, or maybe you believe that success is your destiny, nothing can shift you from that. Once you truly believe in that, and you help people to see that within themselves as well. But it's also, maybe that's even like a sign here, or like a message of like, you help people, and through that, it leads you to your success. The way you inspire and influence others leads you to your destination, to your purpose, to your success in life. It's just such a copacetic, is that the word? And like mutually beneficial sort of arrangement, I guess, or energy and interactions. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. But yeah, that is the reading. I'm sorry, it's probably like super long, but I just got so wrapped up in the messages and stuff. But yeah, this is the reading, and it's for my Hive Collective. So thank you so much, my Hive Collective, for being here and being a part of our little bee family. If you haven't yet, you can always subscribe and become a part of our Hive Collective, our little bee family here. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy more readings in the future, I guess. Yeah, I usually have an outro that I do with these videos, so I'm gonna do that. Okay. If this resonated, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you subscribe, you can become a part of the Hive Collective, because my name is Bee. Bees live in hives, and you can become an honorary bee like me, and we can be a little bee family together. And if you like my readings and you'd like to see more, be sure to click that bell icon down below so that YouTube actually notifies you the next time that I upload. And thank you so much for being here, each and every one of you. I am so entirely grateful for you. You guys have no idea how much you motivate me and inspire me to keep going, even on my darkest days. I love each and every one of you so much. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And I can't wait to see you in future readings. Bye.